Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking at a deeply disturbing factual retelling of a true crime story that honestly gripped the entire world. We're talking about a case where a seemingly perfect American family was completely destroyed from within. Now, on the surface, the wattS family had it all. But as we're about to uncover, appearances can conceal some profound, devastating violence.
The really chilling essence of this case can be distilled into one horrifying dichotomy. When this story first broke, the public saw a man pleading on national television, desperately asking for the safe return of his missing pregnant wife and his two little girls. But while he was looking directly into those news cameras, he secretly knew exactly where his family was, because he had already ended their lives.
Section 1. A picture-perfect facade. The illusion of the wattS family. Okay, let's dive into this.
Out in Frederick, Colorado, the meticulously crafted public image of the wattS family was, well, it was nothing short of pristine. To their friends and social media followers, chriS and Shannon wattS, who got married back in 2012, were the absolute picture of happiness. Shannon was always sharing videos and photos of their vibrant family life. They were raising two incredibly cheerful young daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, who everyone called Cece. And to top off this portrait of the American dream, Shannon was 15 weeks pregnant with their unborn son, Nico. chriS just seemed like this quiet, gentle, and utterly devoted family man. But there was a tragic reality hiding just out of frame.
Section 2. Secrets behind closed doors. Cracks in the facade.
So, when we shift from what was broadcast to the world to what was actually happening, there's a serious visual whiplash. The foundation of this seemingly ordinary life was actually beginning to fracture. On the one hand, you have the public illusion, right? Family vacations, birthday celebrations, and social media posts just overflowing with love. But on the other hand, behind closed doors, the private reality was something entirely different. The family was literally drowning in financial problems. There was increasing marital tension, and Shannon started noticing chriS becoming incredibly emotionally distant. She desperately wanted counseling to save their marriage, but as investigators would later conclude, chriS was already imagining a future without his family.
Now, that emotional distance wasn't just a symptom of financial stress. It had a very specific cause. In June of 2018, chriS started a secret relationship with a coworker named Nicole Kessinger. And to kick off this affair, he flat out lied. He falsely told her that he was already separated from his wife. As this secret relationship deepened, Shannon sensed that something was fundamentally wrong. She confided in her friends that chriS just wasn't affectionate anymore. The introduction of this affair really accelerated the impending tragedy.
Section 3. The final weekend, a fatal sequence of events.
The nightmare completely unfolds on August 13, 2018. In the early hours, Shannon returns home from a business trip. Sometime before sunrise, the murders occur inside the family home. chriS would later admit to murdering Shannon and then killing Bella and Cece. The exact sequence is a bit murky because chriS gave multiple conflicting accounts, but what is absolutely certain is the horrific disposal of their bodies. Before the sun even came up, he loaded his work truck and drove to a crude oil site where he worked. There, he buried his pregnant wife in a shallow grave and, incredibly, concealed his two little girls separately inside crude oil storage tanks. Later that very same day, when Shannon failed to answer calls or show up to appointments, a really concerned close friend contacted the police.
Section 4. Unraveling the lies. The investigation.
When police finally arrived at the home, they found Shannon's purse, her phone, her medication, her vehicle, and all of the kids' belongings still inside the house. Now, chriS tried to claim she had packed up and left with the kids after an argument, but investigators immediately spotted glaring inconsistencies. The speed and efficiency of modern digital forensics began cornering chriS in record time. First, a neighbor's security camera captured footage of chriS loading his truck early that morning, which completely contradicted his timeline. Then police pulled the GPS data tracking his truck's movements directly to that oil site. Combined with cell phone records and digital evidence, the police were able to definitively prove that his initial claim about Shannon leaving was just a complete lie.
And this brilliantly illustrates the rapid crumbling of a murderer's alibi as mounting evidence squeezes him. Step 1. He confidently claims Shannon left with the kids. Step 2. He fails a polygraph examination. Step 3. Backed into a corner, he changes his story entirely and disgustingly tries to blame Shannon, claiming she hurt the children and he just reacted. And finally, Step 4.
Under the crushing weight of the evidence, he confesses absolute responsibility for murdering all 3 victims.
Section 5. The chilling confession, the weight of justice.
With the confession secured and the bodies recovered, the investigation moved to a remarkably swift legal conclusion in November of 2018. The horrifying scope of his crimes against his own family was really reflected in the severe charges brought against him. chriS Watts pleaded guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder. He also pleaded guilty to the unlawful termination of Shanann's pregnancy, recognizing the loss of unborn Nico. And finally, he pleaded guilty to tampering with human remains, which reflects the callous and frankly horrifying way he disposed of his family at the oil site.
0. That is the exact number representing chriS Watts' chances of parole. For his unimaginable crimes, he received multiple consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. He will literally never walk free again.
You know, this case shocked the world not just because of its sheer brutality, but because of the terrifying deception. You have a family that appeared completely happy in public. You have a man pleading on television for their safe return while knowing the dark truth all along. The murders of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and unborn Nico remain one of the most disturbing family homicide cases in modern history. And it forces us to leave this explainer with a deeply unsettling realization. When carefully crafted images and perfect online facades can conceal such devastating violence, how well do we really know the people behind the pictures? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.